You do have the capacity to direct Synergy to resolve problems earlier. Why haven't you done that?
The moment that we became, when did it become clear that there was going to be, that Premier Cole was not going to be able to deliver the contracted tonnage?
My question is to the Minister for Energy. Minister, I refer to the reported coal shortage at the government-owned coal-fired power stations in Collie and the potential that we may need to import coal from the eastern states because of it. And I ask, can you explain the long-term reason for Premier Coal's failure to fulfil its contractual obligations to provide coal? And what have you done as Minister for Energy and Mines to address the problems that clearly extend far beyond the Collie mine incident on the 16th of August?
The Minister for Energy.
Now, Madam Speaker, I will answer this question, but I will point out to the member that he's got the structure of the question wrong. If you look at Standing Order 75, it says questions may be asked of ministers regarding matters under the minister's administrative responsibility. You've asked me what the problems are at Premier Coal. Premier Coal is a privately owned company. It is not in any way controlled or influenced by the Minister for Energy, and I have no powers either as Minister for Mines and Petroleum or Minister for Energy to intervene on the operations of the coal mine. Now let me assure you that I've taken plenty of legal advice on that question. I just make it clear to you that the Government of Western Australia does not operate any coal mines. So whilst I am aware of some of the, because they've told me, of some of the challenges for Premier Coal, I have no authority or power to operate the Premier Coal mine. I cannot do that. There is absolutely no authority that I have to intervene in the operations. Interestingly, I have emergency powers to control liquid fuels and gas, but there is no equivalent power for the operations of the coal mine. So even if we declared a state of emergency, we wouldn't have powers to intervene on the operations of the coal mine. So I want to make it clear there's some confusion generated by Paul Murray at the West Australian that somehow this is about government behaviour. And I want to make it clear that that's simply misunderstanding of what's occurred. Premier Coal and Synergy have a commercial relationship where Premier Coal are to provide a certain volume of coal to Synergy. The way it works is that there's a floor and a ceiling to the amount of coal that's to be provided, and at the start, or prior to the start of the year, Synergy can tell Premier Coal how much coal they need within those two limits. Unfortunately, Premier Coal has not been able to provide the contracted volumes of coal to Synergy. Now, whether I like it or not, there is no authority for the Minister for Energy to change the behaviour of the privately operated, independently run Premier Coal mine. Now, I would love to have some authority to change their behaviour, but I don't. And the same was true when Mike Nahan, the Honourable Dr Mike Nahan, was the Minister for Energy, because you would remember, I'm sure, that he said that the two coal mines should merge. Now, in the same way as that never occurred, because he had no authority to make those two coal mines merge, I don't have any authority to operate the coal mine at Collie. And there is nothing the Government of Western Australia can do about the operation of the coal mine. Also want to go on further. There's this silly comment by Paul Murray in the West Australian that somehow this is about renewable energy. The opposite is true. This is about the unreliability of the supply of coal. You made this comment in the West Australian, quoting, using Paul Murray's article as Paul Murray's opinion piece as the basis for your opinion piece. You talked about Synergy had already experimented with shutting down the Collie coal power stations during the spring of last year. That's not correct. The Australian Energy Market Operator turns on and off the power stations. I've made this comment 100 times. The Collie coal-fired power station could not fit into the energy system for 6 weeks last year because coal power stations are not flexible. And at this time of the year, you get so much energy from people's rooftop solar that you literally can't get the coal-fired power station, that massive coal-fired power station into the system. So last year, it wasn't that we chose an experiment that it wasn't turned on for 6 weeks. It wasn't turned on for 6 weeks because it wasn't needed. Now, I want to finish on this, and I'm sure I'll get some very interesting supplementary. At the time that we announced, the Premier and I went down and spoke to the workforce first, and then announced the closure of Muja Stage 6, and then when we went down again, faced the workforce, talked to them, and then announced the closure of Collie and Muja D. And the point there being that we actually fronted the workforce first. I made the point that we're going to need coal until we don't. And at the moment, we need coal. And so I'm bitterly disappointed that Premier Coal are not providing the contracted tonnes to Synergy. But I also point out Griffin Coal is not providing the contracted tonnes to either the privately owned Blue Waters or the privately owned Worsley Alumina Refinery. So Premier is not the only one that is not delivering on their contractual obligations.
Question.
Supplementary.
Minister, you may not be able to direct Premier Coal, but you do have the capacity to direct Synergy to resolve problems earlier. Why haven't you done that?
The Minister for Energy.
This is the bizarre issue that you don't seem to understand. The moment that we became, when did it become clear that there was going to be that Premier Coal was not going to be able to deliver the contracted tonnage? When they shut the pit in August. And we did take action immediately. And one of the actions we took was to engage with the Australian Energy Market Operator about getting approval to not use the Collie coal-fired power station from September to December. I mean, this is bizarre. This is this stupid idea that somehow we're not either dealing with the issue expeditiously or not being transparent. Neither of those allegations can be justified by the behaviour of the government. Again, on the 12th of August this year, I sat at the National Energy Ministers meeting when the Australian Energy Market Operator said that they did not believe there would be any challenges to capacity over summer in Western Australia. Less than a month later, they told, or 3 weeks later, exactly 3 weeks later, they were in my office telling me that they'd changed their position. We don't, Paul Murray said in his article that Synergy operates the Swiss. It's just not correct. Synergy is a generator in the Swiss. Most of the electricity produced in the South West Interconnected System is not provided by Synergy, it's provided by the private sector. Western Power operates the transmission system, but the actual market is operated by AEMO, not by the Government of Western Australia. And why is it operated by AEMO? Because the Liberal Party asked AEMO to take over from the independent market operator. So it was you who put them in charge of the South West Interconnected System. I understand that this is a complex and difficult issue to deal with, but that's why I'm up front and dealing with it. And that's why your idea, another part of your criticism is that you said that these risks have demonstrated the risks of the premature elimination of coal-fired generators while increasing renewable energy. Now, I just remind you, you wanted to shut all the coal-fired power stations 5 years before us. Your proposal was to have them all closed. Don't look around. You were the Shadow Minister for Energy. We've all got... Do you want me to... The next time, tomorrow we're having this debate about energy policy. I'm going to come in here with the transcript of the press conference when you said it was a good idea. And I'm also going to remind you, member, that you and I were both at a conference after the election, where you put up all the slides and went on in detail about how good the policy is. I know you've changed your mind, and now you're rewriting history that it was somebody else's idea. You told me, member, that you had invented the idea in June, I think it was, or July of 2020. So you can't walk away from your thumbprints all over the idea to close every coal-fired power station in Western Australia, not by 2030, by 2025. Yeah.